Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Akibtun lil Mustaqim. Wala ala Dalimeen. My dear brothers and sisters, everywhere you may be, I will continue today on the beautiful saga of Al Andalus. And it is a very extensive history, and I thought I would be able to cover it in two parts, but looked like I will not be able to do that. Let me give my felicitations. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Lil ikhwani ikhwati fi din. Assalamu ala mani taba huda lil ikhwani ikhwati fi Afrika, Europa, America, Caribbean, kulli makan. And under my full bay community, brothers and sisters, some administrative notes before I get started. Sorry I'm late, but I have, even in StreamYard, I'm starting to get it compromised. And I'm in the firm belief now that somebody inside the StreamYard may be in cahoots with the enemy Tubab. And making, removing my pictures and everything like this. I've complained. It seemed like every time I get ready to start a program, I have the same problem again. And it's really, really shameful. So anyway, we're going to get started here, brothers and sisters. I got a couple of emails. One email in particular was really off base. But it's like what I told you the other day before, that you have to be armed for your history. This guy said he was Moroccan, but I suspect him to be Tubab by the way his English was and the way he wrote. And he went on to tell me that he was talking about the topic when I was talking about the wearing of the veils. And he was claiming that I gave misinformation on that, meaning he said the Arabs and everything else. Well, let me clarify this, because we have people like this who's talking, who's writing. I did not say they didn't come from anywhere else. It did. You can go to Vietnam, you'll find those in the forest, they wear some type of veil. You can find them in northern Thailand. You can find them in the Philippines, especially among our brothers down in the south. And Mindanao and so forth. You'll find it everywhere, and it's been there. You find it in Japan also. What I was talking about is if this idiot would have looked at the history, he would have understood what I was talking about. Because the Afro-Arabs came from Jazira Arab, came and saw them because they looked different. Their emas were big there, and they had the it's like when I wear out, their face was covered and stuff. But their emo, see, now you look at me, they don't look like nobody there in Jazira Arab. You see this. So when they see this, they see a man coal black in color or very dark complected with a big emo. So they called us the veiled ones, because we wore big clothing, okay, which darar or egbadas or whatever you want to call them, like in West Africa. Here in Morocco, we call this darar, and big clothing. And so they saw them in this dress. It's particular. No one else dresses like this across West Africa. See, nobody. So this is why they called us the veiled ones, because they saw the way we dressed, and they saw the way we made our imam, means turban. And then they seen the way our face veils, and then he see the clothing. He didn't see that. So then he went on to say, from this point, brothers and sisters, he said that the real Amazigh, because he said, well, you took some pictures here, but my people, I'm 90, he said 93% Amazigh, which is crazy, because no one is 100% Amazigh. It's impossible. You just cannot. You can be 80%, even that is even high. Most of Amazigh people today in Morocco, they're between 60 to 70%. Why? Because they have European ancestry, and then they have what? Sub-Saharan African history as well, especially namely the Fulani, as you heard me talk. They're not 90%. That's impossible. See, it's not possible. Just like the Fulani, nobody is 100% Fulani. Cannot be, because we have mixed over so many centuries of different nationalities. Some of us got European, we have Amazigh, we have Tuareg, we have different mixes within us. So he went on to say that, and he basically said that real Amazigh people were white, like him and his family, and they had to be up in the north. See, and it's wrong. As you heard me talk about, I gave the evidence. He didn't bother to check out the film. He just took some parts here and there, and he went on after it, and so forth and so on. So you have to be armed, brothers and sisters, and our enemy will do everything. One of the things they always fear is they do not want to see the education of the black man. This is why they do what they do. Why they whitewash. They wanted me to promote the from here last week. They want me to promote where is it at here? If we could find it. Okay, I showed you a picture. See, they went in again today, minutes before I went and put in they went and removed some pictures out. I mean, this, I'm going to complain to SteamYard about this, brothers and sisters, because this is not right. You pay, and you're supposed to have a show that, that should be free of this. They removed, now it's funny, they removed the picture, they removed the picture of the white Yusuf Ibn Josephine. They removed this picture out because it's an embarrassment to them. So they removed it. And so I was trying to show you that he wanted me to promote that. And he said that it shouldn't matter what what we are that we're doing on the show. We should promote whatever is said. And he was basically saying that everybody was white. He did finally admit in his second letter that there were foot soldiers that may be black, he said, may be black. So anyway, this is the type of thing, brothers and sisters, that we have to be armed, and we have to arm ourselves in our history so that we'll know. So let's get started. I finished off giving you all the things about the Amazigh, what happened to the Amazigh, and I explained what happened, how they left Egypt, and I said that the Amazigh and the Fulani are almost the same. I believe they left at the same time because there's too many similarities between us. Both were black when we left, and here you see they're going to Egypt, into modern day Algeria, where there's no such thing at that time. From that point, when this area opened up, which was underwater, believe it or not, where Maghrib, Al Maghrib today, which is Morocco, and this area began to open up. Then the Dola Shabaka broke up, and it began to go south, Mali, Mauritania, into Al Maghrib, to the north, and to the center, to the south. So they start to break up. And those people at those days called themselves Mozab people. And then they left that to go to what? To be the Amazigh people. I went through that. I wanted to get that clear again about that. And so, I gave you that background. And then I gave you the background to tell you about what happened. Again, this is here to the north in olden times. That's, again, Al Maghrib. And then when you go to the south, you see Futafula. That's the area where we talk Takur, where we have the HappaPulaar Fulani brothers, and we have Mandinka, we have others there as well. And I went through that, talking about how they went there. So now we'll get more into that to explain what happened, how they got into Andalusia, and now you start having a picture who the people are and who was what. And it's a beautiful story. Now, some of the main players to this is the Sanhaja people, which again, I'm hoping that I have the map here, because here we go. Now, you see here in the blue, and then you see a green dart here, okay? And so what's happening here is that the Sanhaja people in the Jadela and the Lamtuna, okay, Amazigh people, here's where they are. Okay, this is where they were at here. This is why I said this. You see where it says Al Maghrib is in the white. When you go south of there, this is now Bilad es Sudan, okay, land of black people. This is again why we go through this, because they show the pictures of people being white is impossible. And matter of fact, while I'm on this subject, I've been reading through a lot of documents, and every time these majorities white historians come back with a topic and say that when they went up to the north, okay, the Murabitun, as we talked about before, that they brought along with them white troops, Tubab. Now, brothers and sisters, see, here we go again. Now, someone who watches this in the future, explain to me where has been indigenous white folk in Bilad Sudan. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. And here in the Rar area, here is where the three big Amazigh, and they were black, as you know, I showed you, gave it evidence. That's the Sanhaja, that's the Lamtuna, and that's Jadela. And then in the green here, again, is the Takrir area where they will marry up, meaning that they will leave this area here. The Murabitun is now starting to blossom, but they have conflicts with many of the clans in this region, and they did not have enough to protect themselves. So they went to go where? With their old allies from way back to the 7th century. Okay, now we're talking here about the 1000s, okay, 1000s, and they go down here, and that's where they build their Jamaat, what we call this in Arabic, meaning their group, okay, the Islamic group, and this is where it blossomed. And then in the mix, you heard me talk about a famous king, they call him Raid Bit Raid. You remember I talked about him, and I was telling you about him here also last week here on the right. And he, again, went into jihad with Abu Bakr ibn Umar. And they together formed this unison, and they, again, went on jihad to convert the pagan infidel, if you want to call it English, infidel clans there in Sudan, which they did a lot. And then eventually they even invaded the Empire of Ghana and took over some territory. And I heard there was tribute. There's a lot of conversation about this. Some said they went in and conquered Ghana. I don't believe that, because Ghana was still going on, and it finally faded out by the 11th century, I believe it was. I don't see that. But they did say that when they did reach an agreement, a detente between them, they said that some of the Murabitun, which will again be HappaPulaar and the Sanhaja, right, married into, they took wives among the elite of the Ghana Empire. This is the thing I believe probably did happen, because Ghana still stayed in power. See, so it wasn't destroyed, literally destroyed, but it was weakened by its conflicts with the new Rabitun group, again, that I showed you here in the map here, right here. And, this is a significant situation here, brothers and sisters, because when you look at this, there's not a great distance between the region there, Mauritania here, and there where the Takrur area is. And so the significance, again, is that the Murabitun left this region here, and then they began to form their group. Again, this is how we end up having so many large amount of Mujahideen who are black, which I'll get into another segment, because we will enter Andalus. But in order for you to understand, when we get in Andalus, you have to understand the people, as I explained to you before, who was there, how did they get there, why they were black. Now you can get a better picture, because they went further down south into Bilad Sudan, further down in the Sahara, and then into the Savannah regions, where they encountered real black people. Okay, real, I mean, the Mandinka, you had Senike, you had others that were there, and even they said Wolof. Of course, Mandinka was there as well. So they encountered them and whatnot, and they began to have wars. But then many of them came to Islam and they joined Murabitun, and this is how it got to be so big and powerful, and how it was so decidedly black when it got into Al Maghrib. See, that's how we got the black troops into Al Maghrib. And many of these historians will leave that part out. They'll get you there so that way they can put everybody as white. But they forgot, and many of them say, and it's almost idiotic, because you start reading, they'll say that Murabitun left the Mauritania area, the Etrog, okay, that area there, to go south. But then they show the people all white. It's kind of comical to a big degree. So we will go into this. Yeah, okay. Now we have to talk about the personalities, brothers and sisters, of the Murabitun, because these will play an integral part. You have Yahya bin Ibrahim al-Lemtuna, and you see again, Africa, we have a different type of way that we have named ourselves, right? And you notice, as you heard me say 1,000 times, we have to have a playbook in order to understand. Here is this famous Mujahid, Rahimahullah, who helped to actually form the Murabitun group. He went to Hajj, and then in the 1000s, he went to Hajj. He stopped in Tunis and went to this famous university there. And remember something, oldest universities in the world were where? Not in Oxford, not in LA, not New York City, but in Africa, namely North Africa, especially Fez. Fez has the oldest university in the world, Qarawiyyin. Those who have seen it, is massive. I prayed there a number of times. Massive, massive, massive masjid inside. The old architect, which I'll show you some things here briefly, inshallah ta'ala, and the old architect and stuff like that. Very, very interesting place. And you have the very narrow streets that you've probably seen films, and it's sometimes hard to navigate. You can easily get lost. You turn right when you should be turning left, and so forth and so on, because everything looks almost the same until you enter. And then you see like you see walls, and suddenly you enter, it's massive inside. You see beautiful riads inside. You see people have, especially some of the houses in what we call the old Medina, there's something else. On the outside, you don't look nothing. You see a big old wall, then you see a door, big wooden door, right? You enter, you see beautiful gardens inside. Outstanding, beautiful, with running water and stuff like beautiful. The architect here in Morocco is out of sight, beautiful. So you have Yahya Ibrahim. He came back to Al Maghrib, and after he talked to a famous, one of my favorite of the ulama of the past is Amran al-Fessi. And he then instructed him to go into Al Maghrib, because he talked to him. He said he wanted to bring Tawheed Allah to the Western corridor, Maghrib, and then the southern part of Maghrib. He wanted to bring Tawheed Allah. So he instructed him to come into Al Maghrib, and then he said, I have a student. There's a student there by the name of Abdullah bin Yassin. He's a faqih now. And so he married up with him. And they left to leave, and they went into, you see Al Maghrib, as you can kind of visualize, they start to go back south, and they picked up some people who wanted the same thing, which they only had a few at the time. And then they end up coming back to where Yahya Ibrahim is from, because again, Yahya bin Ibrahim al-Lemtuna. You see, al-Lemtuna is what? It's the name of the ethnic group, okay? The Amazigh group, Lemtuna. See, and when I get to Yusuf to Josephine al-Sanhaji, you see, again, the end of the last name, you give a designation of the ethnic group or the village or the clan that you belong to. See, Omar, which Abu Bakr ibn Omar, him. See, then him, Lem Tuna, you see, at the end. That's how they named themselves. So anyway, they took this and they come to the area here in the blue. And they begin to have problems in that, how can I say, the clans in this area were fighting them a lot. And they could not convert the people because they tried to bring them to Tawhid law and to Sharia law. They didn't want that. Jadella did not want it. Jadella was very, very angry. They did not want it, so they began to fight and do some things against the new Murabitun movement. And then they just had enough. They couldn't take it anymore. See, they couldn't take it anymore, so they had to go down south for protection into Sudan, further down south, which all of it is Sudan, but further down into Sudan to the HappaPulaar, which is Takrir region. So again, the brothers were really struggling. I mean, a lot. So they come to this area here, and they begin to how can I say talk to again Rabe bin Rabe, and then they begin to talk with him. He put him under their protection, and they begin to take off. And again, that's a little ahead of ourselves because they've erased a lot of my stuff I have in here, so I have to really go back to look to try to pull some of the stuff back in because they've erased a lot of things in here, our brothers and sisters. These guys, this enemy is something else. They have access to make it so difficult for you to have any programs, even in something like SteamYard. Very, very difficult now. How can I say? Okay, yeah, here we are. Yeah, the new arrival of the Murabitun into this area in the green here, and then along with the HappaPulaar. So now they begin to fight, and they begin to impose their will on the infidel clans, and they brought thousands of converts to Murabitun. And the new Rabitun was majority Sudan Murabitun. So that's how they became black. And then they began to go north. They start to fight, and they begin to fight, and they removed many. I had another map to show you how they went into there, and they removed it. They removed it seconds before I started the thing. They went in there and moved my pictures out of here. They went and they went to the north, and they start to go. They now have conquered all of the Mauritania region here, as you can see. And now they start to make their push. They made it back to their home base, which is Etrog here in the blue. They made it back. And so after defeating all of these infidel clans and bringing many of them to Islam and whatnot, and then they came back to this region, and this is where Jadella said, no, we're not going to join you. And they had to fight, and they fought. And then the Emir of Jadella in mid-battle was killed, okay? He was killed, and then Abdullah ibn Yassin, rahimahullah, called for everybody to stop fighting. What you could imagine, here's everybody fighting, their blood's up, and the killing is going on. He started to yell at everybody, and they stopped the fight. Both sides stopped the fight. Jadella started to stop the fight, and Murabitun stopped the fight. So Yahya Ibrahim and Murabitun convened a meeting shortly after the fight, and then brought them to start to talk. and whatnot. And so at this point, Jadela and other resisting clans now join Murabitun, pledging loyalty upon the Quran and the Sunnah. So this is, again, you start to add more troops to the Murabitun Jamaat. And so you can see how that starts to build. And they, here we go here. They got together after the initial battle. Here on your right is Jadela. And there you see in the background, you see some of their wives, and the whole village or clan is back there, because now the fighting stopped. Their leader was adamant, even though a lot of their people in this Kabyle did not want to fight, but they had to fight, because you know how it is in the Sahara, the clans in the Sahara. They have a whole different mindset than you do of the people in the city. So here you go. Here is Murabitun to your left, and on your right is Jadela. So here they're about ready to make a pledge of allegiance now to the Quran and Sunnah, that they would now follow the Murabitun, which is a big thing. Once the clan Jadela got involved and they made a pledge, then the other clans there in the region got together and they all began to join again. Now, remember what I was telling you, even the clans like this, they're black folk. Some are light brown, some are dark brown, okay? But the HappaPulaar, most of them in this time were very black, okay? Now, as you know, now that's why they use the term Tucolor and what like this, because they, you know, some are light, some are brown because they're mixing. But at this time in the 1000s, 900, 1000s, the HappaPulaar people were very dark skinned. Okay, they're Fulani, but very dark skinned. So you still have black people, and it was not a black and white thing, as you heard me say. So now they made their pledge to them and whatnot, and they went on from that point. And then the old Sanhaja Confederation of Jadela, Lamtuna, and other clans now identified with Murabitun. The clan loyalties dissipated. This is what, again, the galvanizing effect of Islam. There was no more, when you talk to somebody, you go to ask them, you could, you know, out of curiosity, maybe because this is your brother's, hey, brother, which, you know, and you can talk to him, hey, I'm from Lamtuna, or I'm from Limta. There's many different, clans under there in Mauritania. There's many different clans, many. So then this confederation now came, and the clan loyalties were finished, over. It was gone. Now everybody's just Murabitun. And they began to even change in dress. They began to wear black. Of course, this thing doesn't show that, but that's okay, you know, because the films and things like this and plays and all that, they can't have everything perfect. But they begin to adopt the black. So they had the big black abadas, and we have clothing here, like you see here. We have what we call what they call sirham. Sirham is an outer clothing that is different. It blocks, helps the wind, and also keeps you warm in the winter months and cooler in the summer months. It's another piece that fits over your clothes. I would put that on, but that's okay. You get the picture because you see them here. And then you have your darah underneath that. This is part of the dress. This is why the Afro-Arabs, when they begin to see us and they begin to make their reports and make the history, they describe the dress of the veiled ones. This is why they call them the veiled ones, because the way they dress and their mannerisms and so forth and so on. Nobody dresses like them. This is why he called them the veiled ones. And I was trying to explain to this man about this, but he didn't listen because he was racist. He kept saying he didn't care. They had to be, if they didn't live in this one area and they weren't white, then they can't be Amazigh. It's incredible. But you see here, this is a good picture on how the people look. Now, we get to now we start to have some problems where we start to have fighting going on, and some of the fighting resulted in the deaths of some of the leadership, and the death of Yahya Ibrahim and Sus. Now we're in Al Maghrib because they start to go up north now. They started to make their trek up north into Al Maghrib. So the Sus is a tough region. Many Amazigh clans. So he died there. And Abu Bakr Omar became the emir of the Murabitun. Abdullah Yassin remained as the Sheikh Islam of the Murabitun, meaning he was the faqih, the judge, and all the Islamic rulings. He was still handling that. Now, on the death of Abdullah bin Yassin, the Shura Council then went on to appoint Abu Bakr Omar as the emir, and his cousin Yusuf, who we talked about last week when he showed the white Yusuf Josephine as the second in command. But a problem arose, essentially, and not a major problem, between Abu Bakr Ibn Omar and Yusuf in a little later period, because they had a different philosophy about the jihad. And Abu Bakr wanted to continue the jihad deeper into the Sahara. He wanted to go further into West Africa, which he did. And the Murabitun actually did go further into West Africa, because there's a map showing the influence that the Murabitun did have at that time in 1000s in West Africa. It was astounding, the amount of area that became under their leadership. Very, very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. But Yusuf Ibn Josephine said, no, I want to move further up north. I want to take all of Maghrib and bring it under Tawheed Allah. So they had kind of like a different disagreement about which direction Murabitun should go. Should they go back to the south to fight, or they should go to the north to take Al Maghrib and then eventually go into Andalusia? See, so then they had basically a talk where they wanted to Jadela made their pledge. They had a talk now, and so they decided at this time, this is the beauty of Islam. You have a Shura council, and then you have many of the people and different clans. They're now talking here in the desert. They're deciding what they're going to do. And so how was they going to do this? What were they going to do? Were they going to go back to the south, or what were they going to do? So Abu Bakr Omar, rahimahullah, was smart, because he saw his cousin very, very tough, very, very adamant. He wanted to go north and bring all of Al Maghrib under Tawheed. As a matter of fact, this is a depiction of him. This is more like a depiction of him, not this blonde-haired man that they show like from Norway in Blades, Sudan, the land of black people. This is what they said. They described him as clearly brown in color. They talking about his tall stature, very brown, okay, and very tall statured man, very dignifying. And they said that he always kept his face veiled all the time, I mean, eating, drinking, talking. He kept his face veiled all the time. Because then at this time, again, this is the mannerism. That's why they call us the veiled ones, because there was the mannerism of the men. They kept themselves veiled at all times. Walking down the street, if they come out of their house, they always put their veil on, and they walk down the street, or they walk to go meet someone, they go to somebody's house, they always have their veil on. This is why the Afro-Arabs call it the veiled ones, because it was, all day long. It's not like certain periods of the day. This is all day long. But this is, again, Yusuf, a depiction of Yusuf bin Josephine, rahimahullah. So the Shura Council now begin to meet. Now, and again, this is the beauty of us and how what they were going to do. So Abu Bakr Omar again went on ahead and said, you know what, I'm going to relinquish my control of Murabitun. I'm going to give it Yusuf, to Josephine, his cousin. And so he did. And so the Shura Council now decided. Abu Bakr Omar took some of the people and went further into Sudan. He was eventually killed in Sudan much later, but he went further south, and it was him that brought our brothers, the HappaPulaar brothers from the Takrir region into Murabitun. It was him who brought them up to the north into the Mauritania to Rod area there in Mauritania with the map I showed you. It was him. It's him who had the relationship with our ancestral brother here on the right. It was Abu Bakr Omar who had a beautiful brotherhood friendship with this brother here, and they see eye to eye on many things. They agreed on the same type of jihad, and it's him that they use, because you got to remember something. The Sanhaja clans, the Confederation, they spoke Amazigh. They did not speak Pulaar. But our king here over to the right, he did speak Pulaar. So this region spoke Pulaar. So therefore, he had to have somebody to communicate. That's how you got them to come to Almoravids, because he spoke Pulaar. So he had that outstanding relationship with him, and then he brought thousands upon many from Sudan under the leadership of the king, Ray bin Ray and Abu Bakr Omar, and he brought them back up to the home base of the home base here, there in the blue there in Mauritania. So we now I got you to this point, and I'm hoping this is not mundane, brothers and sisters, because I'm trying to lead you to the Andalus, but we have to cover that, because they annexed a lot of territory, and you think about how difficult it was, because the Amazigh people are no punks either. They're good at fighting, especially with the knife. They're very good. And then you had all of this fighting, so you can imagine these are now battle-hardened troops. See, so when they went into Andalus in time, it's not like they just started fighting. They have been fighting now for years, because they had to. You think about it. If you look at this this area here, look at it. It's a great distance. So they had to fight their way, and they took all of this. See, all of this area was taken by them. That's under where it's not where Al Maghrib is, but where right you see all of this area was taken. So beautiful story. What happened, and this jihad was strong. They went into Mali, and Mali again. Remember we talked about. You've been hearing me many weeks talking about the Messina group. Remember them? How they formed the Futafula Sultanate, right? They went in that region as well. Many came to Islam. They were already Muslims, but they decided to join Murabitun. This is why I was explaining to you, brothers and sisters, how powerful it was, how powerful, and the men that they had with it, how it became decidedly black, because the Amazigh were already, but Amazigh, you see, some of the Amazigh people are black. Some of the Amazigh people are light brown skinned, as you know. And this is like here again. Here's your brother here. Many of the Amazigh people, they're black folk. They're light-skinned black people, just like brothers I see in California, Compton. We got light-skinned and brown brothers. They're black people. See, they're not Tubac. So you have that. And now that this big push was taking place, and again now, so Abu Bakr declared Yusuf to Josephine as the new Amir of Murabitun. He took 95% of the Mujahideen, as you heard me talk, and he moved back. He moved up into Al Maghrib, and they had many battles with the Amazigh group, many battles, and now they're making their push to go up to the north to go fight, and now they're I forgot, the numbers fluctuate on how many thousands they had. Some said it was between 3,000 to 4,000. Some said 8,000. I can imagine, because I believe it's probably more closer to between 6,000 to 8,000 Mujahideen coming from Sudan region and from the Mauritania region into Al Maghrib. So the estimates between 4,000 to 8,000. So they were there, and you can imagine how they looked. You see similar picture is like this. Here they all face veiled, except one here. But most of them, again, they wore their face veils all the time. The veiled ones, as they call them, Murabitun, now making their push to go to the north. And as they start to go through Al Maghrib, they went through Al Maghrib essentially like a hot knife through butter. They begin taking on everybody and defeating everybody in their way to unite Al Maghrib, to bring all this region now from Al Maghrib all over to Mauritania that we understand today under Tawheed Allah, okay, under Tawheed Allah, and no more of the bid'ah that's going on with many of the Amazigh tribes. Many of the Amazigh tribes have many wives. Many of them were committing adultery. Many of them were making fornication, and they were doing other things. They were worshiping Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, but they had some other things in their worship that was wrong. So they wanted to clean that up, and they did. Eventually, at time, they did clean it up. And then Abu Bakr Omar, he established Marrakesh, which I know this is in Arabic, but you see up there in the yellow right here, this is Marrakesh. In the Amazigh language, we call this Marrakesh, but in English, Marrakesh. He was the one who established the famous city, beautiful city, brothers and sisters, with a very unique climate. Very unique climate, the most unique climate I've ever been to in my life. I've been to many places, but this climate that's there in Marrakesh is something to behold. That's why you can grow many different foods, fruit trees, and everything there. Very, very different, beautiful landscape. It's a different. That's why they chose this place to be the capital. This became the capital of just about all the remaining the sultanates in Al Maghrib. So again, the first sultanate inside Al Maghrib was black. It was the Murabitun. Again, why? Because they brought all the people from Balad Sudan into Murabitun, and they made their push all the way up to where you see Marrakesh there. That's in Arabic there, but you see it written in yellow. They made their push all the way up there. They had defeated majority of the other clans at that time, and so now they made the capital there. And then here is in Arabic here in red, it's called Dola Murabitin. This is, again, the Sultanate of Murabitun. You see in blue. It's showing now at this stage what they had and what was under there. Eventually, we know Andalusia, but that's a further ahead of the story. So I wanted to bring you up to speed in that regard. So they made this push. Excuse me, let me see what we have here. How you doing, my dear brothers? Yeah, thank you, my dear brother. Thank you for your comment. And yeah, and yes, I believe these images come from the same film. What film is that? Yeah, I'll give you that. This is Arabic, and I think you probably, my dear brother, if you understand Arabic language, then you'll be able to pick this film up very easily. I'll get it and remind me too, please, at the end, so I don't forget. At the end of near my end talk, I'll give you the name of the movie. And it's a pretty good movie. There's a lot of things that's not right about it, but it's in Arabic. Okay, it's not English, and they don't have English subtitles. What I believe right now, I don't believe they have English subtitles to that, but I think the technology now, I think you can put the subtitle where they translate it in English. I think those smart TVs have that, because it seemed like to me, I saw my wife do that one time. It was a program in English. She went to it and turned it into so she could understand it better in Arabic language. And I know we used our smart TV that we have in one of my libraries in my house, because I have two libraries. So and she uses one, I use one, and so I think you can translate that. But I will. Matter of fact, here I could put it for you now. It's called the. I'm gonna write this in Arabic, so you have to. Maluk. Okay, Maluk al. Okay, excuse me, no. Okay, yeah. What if? Okay. Okay, this is it here. This is the name of it. This is the name of the movie here. It's a series, 30 days long, and but it's in Arabic. This is what it's called here. You can paste it, and then you can get it, and then you can see it. And it's pretty accurate, but there are some things that's not right in it, and I'll get into some of that again at a later day and whatnot, because I'm going to conclude here, inshallah ta'ala, with another segment of this, because you have to cover all of this, because if you don't cover it, it would not make sense to us if we don't cover this area, and our ancestors are worth our talking about them. So now they made Marrakesh in the Amazigh language. It's called Marrakesh. English we call Marrakesh. Was founded by Abu Bakr Umar, and it became the capital, as you heard me say. Now, here's the thing. It took them some years, approximately 3 years or so, but they put essentially Al Maghrib under the sword. The jihad was extensive. They fought any opposition, anyone who was not ready to unite and come under Murabitun and accept Tawheed Allah, meaning the oneness of Allah, then you are going to be fought. And so they finally conquered all of Al Maghrib. So all of the Amazigh clans now were defeated, and they were put under the tutelage and under the control of the Sultanate we call Dola Murabitun. And so it became very famous, because everybody studies the tactics, everybody studies them, everybody understands who they are, everybody knows who they are. And so this is something that, like, this is not foreign. Everybody knows who these people are. And when they made their push to go up further north again, you see our brothers again, how they dress. And you can imagine, brothers and sisters, you see thousands upon thousands of these people, some on camels, some on horses, most of them black as the night, some of them wearing white, some of them wearing black, some of them wearing blue. Like I tried to explain to that brother, he's not my brother, this guy's Tubal. He's not my brother, he's my enemy. But this, I tried to explain to him how the clans work. Each one they wear emas, true, but some wear blue, some wear black, some have white. You understand? So that's how you identify a lot of times with the clan. Lamtuna has one color. Sanhaja has another color. Lemta has one color. Maybe they may have blue, but they'll put something on their ema to describe who they are and whatnot. So you know this is Lemta. And then the other one may be Jadella. Jadella may be wearing something. They may be wearing all white themselves, but they'll have blue strips. This is how we did it. This is how the Afro-Arabs found us. When they found us in this state, they tried to describe us. And so when they meant by the veiled one, they were talking about, yes, their faces are covered, but again, their bodies, because they had big clothing on, because it's hot, it's tropical. We all know that. We live in Africa, it's hot, and it's another part is hot and dry. But in the tropical areas, subtropical areas, it's hot. So you need the akbadas, okay? You need what we call the dara. You need those type of clothing because that's our clothing. So this is a very telling it's a situation now. They have conquered Al Maghrib, and now they start to make noise, meaning people begin to hear about them, and they start to inquire about them. Even the king of the Visigoths, who the ancient Spaniards, King Alfonso, began to hear reports about them. He wanted to keep an eye, because he had spies everywhere. He wanted to keep an eye on them to see what they were doing. In back of his mind, he felt he was going to have to encounter them in the future, which he would. It's going to happen. And then the kingdom in Andalus, which, okay, that's not where I want to. I don't want to. go to that part yet. Okay, I didn't want to cover that either yet. I was trying to get the map show, but anyway, you can look at this here, the Andalus, and at the top in the green area basically is where Spain. And I showed you this map last week, a couple of days ago, and it shows here how Andalus was covered by Murabitun. We had it; it was ours. We conquered it. It was our land, and we put it under the banner of the Muslims. See, but now the words start to come out about Murabitun and the fiefdoms, which I'll get into in my next talk about why there was fear and what happened, and even our Muslim brothers in Andalus, they begin to have doubts. They start to send their emissaries into Al Maghrib to talk to Murabitun because he heard about them. They heard, and each one in Andalus, they had their own fiefdoms. This is why you saw me when I put the title there. That title there, Maluk Tawaif. This is, gathering of, they have individual states and their leaders, taifas. That's what they call us, Arabic, and each one has its area because they begin to break up. I'll get into that next time, inshallah ta'ala, because I have to explain about Andalus because it's just as complicated as we talk about Africa. Andalus is too. It's not simple. You just gonna say, okay, it's Andalus, that's it. No, I have to explain and break it down because before we get into deeper in how we end up taking it, because it's a very tragic story, brothers and sisters. I tell you right now, if you see any of the programs, and if you are if you have Islam in your heart and you have Subhanahu wa ta'ala in your heart, you have to almost shed a tear because some of the chain of events, it's almost like you were there. It's so heart-wrenching that some of the chain of events that occurred, and I'll get into it another time because it's a very interesting saga. And Andalus was something else in itself. Some of the richest cities in world history. You look at, and I can't remember now how many cities. I think it was 20 cities that 20 were, and I think over half were Muslim states that were declared the richest in world history. I think over half were Muslim. Interesting incident. Very interesting. So, so we now got to this point, brothers and sisters, where we got Al Maghrib. We have it under the sword. It's now been taken. Al Maghrib is now part of the Sultanate of Murabitun. Murabitun now is running the show. Murabitun is now in control. Murabitun is now the sole masters. They put it under Tawheed Allah, and now the Amir of Murabitun now is Yusuf bin Josephine, which is his depiction here. He is now the Sultan, but they call him Amir Muslimin. It means the Prince of the Muslims, not Amir Mu'minin. Mu'minin means all, the all, because plural means all. No, he said he's now the Amir Muslimin. So he's now in charge. So he's got all of Al Maghrib, and we'll get him to the north at another time. And they have now conquered. You think about it. Here, they have taken all of Mauritania as we understand it today, which is called Southern Morocco. In olden times, Southern Morocco. They've taken all of this. They put it under the sword. They took it. It's gone. It's now finished. Now you understand why it's decidedly black, because in the green is where they came to marry up. And I wish they didn't remove all my other, because I had other maps to show more detail, but they removed all of them. And the blue here, again, is the home base of the Sanhaja, the home base Jadela and Lamtuna, the three powerful Amazigh groups. And of course, Sanhaja who became the Murabitun, their people, and they came to the green. And again, they married up with our brother Rabe bin Rabe, and he took up jihad. They went further into Senegal. They went into the Empire of Ghana. They went into Mali, and they began to put people under the sword. And people began to come to Islam in droves. Our brothers who were worshiping, who are animists, who are and had juju or obia or voodoo, they now became Muslims, okay, willing Muslims, and they joined in the jihad. And so this is how Murabitun, brothers and sisters, became decidedly black. And as they made their push, you could see going up into Al Maghrib, you had a force, some said between 4,000 to 8,000. Okay, and that's a big force in those days. And these are hardened troops because they've been fighting all this time. For years now, they've been fighting to move their push into Al Maghrib, so they were decidedly black. And they were powerful warriors. And that's why the reports talk about the wall off. They said they had some soldiers who were very, very tall. And they said black, pitch black, and muscular. And they said they were very, very well, in hand to hand. Then we had some brothers among the HappaPulaar, who they said were good in bow and arrows. Then they said we had another group, some of another part outside of Takrur, where they came to Islam. They said some of them were good with the long lance, the long spears, right? So they had all of this, and they know how to utilize. You had the ground forces. The ground force, many, they said Wolof were in there. And because they talked about some of the reports of the enemy, even some of the Amazigh, they never saw these type of people. Yes, there's black people there, yes. But they didn't see these people this kind of black, okay? Black is black pitch, and he's very, very tall. And they were very heavily muscled men, and they had big swords. They talk about that as well. So some of the Amazigh in Mauritania, when they encountered some of our Wolof brothers who came in this jihad, I can imagine what they look like. Here they are in white turbans or black turbans with face veils, and they're standing, in U.S. well over 6 feet, 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", in American measurements, and muscular build, well over 200 pounds. They saw these men, and they came and they dealt a heavy blow. No doubt about that. It was no doubt, because they conquered all of Mauritania as we understand it. And so we now got you into Al Maghrib, and the next stage is to get you into Andalus. And I had to get you all of this stuff so you can get to understand what happened and how it's happening. And now you understand how Marrakesh was founded. It was founded by Abu Bakr Omar. He founded the Marrakesh, as we call this in the Amazigh language. As you see here, he founded it, and that city became the home base for many of the sultanates, the future sultanates in Al Maghrib. The Mujahideen, they're also used this, and if I'm not mistaken, also who used it was the Medellin. Also Sadiyin, they also used that, and then they also used Fez as well. Those are all different groups. I could do another study on them, because Sadiyin, I told you, that's part of my heritage also. They are, because remember the name Sani. Sani is decidedly what? Fula. Okay, no doubt about it, right? Sani and Sadi are from the same word and mean the same thing. But that's another story in itself. So I got you into that, and now you understand how we got to this part and whatnot. And let me see some comments here. We have, oh yes, brother, yes, you're right. You got that right. Yes, you got it. You got it right. And okay, yes. And here we go. Here he want to know what the difference. Okay, yeah. Brothers and sisters, this is not off topic here. When I talk about the Afro-Arabs are those who are, are part African mixed with Arab, or they are, fully Africans, but they Africanized, like in Sudan and parts like this, okay? Where in some parts of the East, like where we have broke up now in Eritrea and places like this, Many of them classify them, they're Africans, yes, but they classify them as Afro-Arabs because they do have the Arabic history, right? So we call them Afro-Arabs because they have the intermixing of the Africans. Now, the others like Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, and Egypt, the Levant area, right? They are more because their daddies were Roman. They were Arabs, but they were colonized by the Romans, and Romans were there for thousands of years, and they colonized them. So we don't call them Afro-Arabs because they're decidedly lighter skinned. The Afro-Arab belt runs all the way from northern part of Senegal across to Mauritania. If we had, I don't know if I have my map here, but you get the picture, through parts of Chad, Sudan, and you start go up into Egypt and to Yemen, Saudi Arabia, and Oman. This is what they call the Afro-Arab belt. That's the difference between them. See, they're Arabs, yes, no doubt, but they differ in the sense that they're daddies. Okay, Jordan, Lebanon, parts of Palestine today, Iraq, it's Bahrain, all that, they had grandpappies who were Romans because the Romans colonized. The Afro-Arabs is because they have mixed with the black folk who were there. They were light-skinned, yes, when they arrived into the area of what we call Jazeera Arab today, they like Saudi Arabia, right? They were light-skinned. They married up with black Africans who were already living in the desert there. That's another story. I covered that one time in another topic about a year ago. I may have to do that again for people to understand what happened. How do we get this term Afro-Arab? Because I covered it in depth about the Arabic language and everything else. I covered it in depth. But this brother asked a good question because many people says, I don't understand. I heard somebody else say that and I forgot to explain that. But now I'm hoping that gets you to understand. So the Afro-Arab belt is from Maghrib, okay, Al Maghrib, Morocco, to northern part of, go down to northern part of Senegal. If you look at a map, go across, okay, just above the line of the Sahara, okay, you go and part Chad, and then you have Sudan, right? Then you move across up Ethiopia, Eritrea, Djibouti, Somaliland, all that, and then you start moving up Egypt, and then you go into Yemen, Saudi Arabia, Oman, and Oman, and that's it. And that's the belt we call the Afro-Arab belt. So I'm hoping that can enlighten you on that particular topic, because it is interesting about the Afro-Arabs. And again, it's the Afro-Arab who came into Africa. The white Arab, as we understand, Tubab Arab from Lebanon, Jordan, they did not enter Africa at that time, and coming down to south. The people who came to convert our ancestors, the Fulani and the Hausa people, they themselves were Afro-Arab, meaning they were black. So they already knew curly hair, my complexion are darker, okay? And they came to convert our brothers there, Afro-Arab, because this you know there's a black man in this man's history because you can look at him and you see by his lips and nose. Look at old photos of some of the people, Saudi Arabia. They say the real Saudis are Afro-Arab. They're black people. They look just like me. If I go to Saudi Arabia and I put on especially the clothes that they have today, they're going to think I'm Saudi. See, when I go to Sudan, nobody thinks of me as anything other than Sudan because I look like them. And they're Afro-Arabs, see? So I look just like them. I go to Habasha, Ethiopia, same thing. I go to Somalia, they'll sit there, yeah, he's Afro-Arab. Because they look at me, they see the color, they see the facial features, and so forth. So that I hope that gets you to understand. He asked a question, are the, are the Hausa Afro-Arab? No, they're not classified as that. But the definition of our Prophet Islam, he did say that anyone who speaks the Arabic language are classified as Arab. But your bloodline would be Hausa. So I speak Arabic, I read Quran, and I write Arabic and everything. So I'm classified as Arab, yes, but my bloodline is Fulani. See, so that's the same thing with our Hausa brothers. Our scholars, they speak Arabic almost fluently. Some is fluent in Arabic, right? They're classified as Arab according to Islamic tenets. They're Arabs because they speak the Arabic language. See, so that's why, and he asked Last question. Yes, the original Arabs that we know were black. There's no doubt about that, because we have documents, and this is why. Why do you think they call Arabic? It's called Afro-Asiatic language. It's not European, because the black people were speaking it before anybody was speaking it. When the lighter skinned people came from the north, no one actually know where the original Arabs, meaning the people who will become the Arabs. We know light skinned people travel from the north. They came to the Saudi desert, right? And they married black people there. Those black people were speaking Arabic, and there's an old Arabic dialect that was used at that time. And matter of fact, and I get off on the subject. Matter of fact, do you know that when the Prophet ﷺ, when he was trying to get many of his Sahaba and the population up to speed, because the Quranic Arabic is the most difficult of all Arabic spoken, no doubt about that, most complicated. If you mastered the Quran and reading it very well, this is a big accomplishment, because the Arabic inside the Quran is top notch. It's the most difficult. But he sent some of his companions, who would be future scholars, to who? Black tribes inside the desert who could speak this Quranic Arabic very well. See, this is a true story. And you read the Hadith, he sent some of his companions who become scholars, because they said, well, I don't understand. Yes, they know they speak Arabic, but they said, I don't understand why Subhanahu wa ta'ala uses this word, and so forth and so on. The Africans who were living in the desert were speaking this dialect, and they had a very good understanding. So he sent many to live among them, so that way they can learn to speak and understand this language very well. That's a true story. See, so that's why this is, and the Arabs, as we understood, were black, but they intermixed with the interlopers who came, who were very light-skinned, and they became like me. The original Arabs were more or less like me, okay? Not white, not very, very black, but in between, because they start to marry, okay? And so this is why we have the term called Afro-Arabs and so forth and so on. So I hope that answers you my question, my dear brother. So I'm about ready to close here, and I hope I get to fix this problem here. But before we close here, I want to show you something. You see this here. This is I want to show you the desert life in Al Maghrib, in the Sahara especially. It's like this. It's very unique, okay? Very unique. And I've been to these cities that are in the Sahara. I have pictures and so forth and so on. Matter of fact, I have one picture showing me in the desert with my wife and so forth and so on, like this, on camels. And these cities here, they're very interesting. The walls are very thick, but you'd be surprised what happens. When it gets cold, it keeps you warm. When it gets hot, it keeps you cool. When you go inside the walls are very, very thick. So they keep in the heat, and they keep in, like during the summer months, it keeps you cool. So you can go make your prayer, because brothers and sisters, it gets very, very hot, okay, in the Sahara. I'm telling you now, in Fahrenheit, you're talking about 120, 130. There's been recorded 140, even 150 degrees. See, so it's very, very hot in the summer months. And you have this type of shrubbery there. The Sahara is very beautiful, but I told you before, very deadly, because it's very difficult to navigate, because you have a hard time. And sometimes when you try to use a compass, your compass it'll be turning. That's why there's a lot of comments. I don't want to make people start to think about some things, but there was a lot of comments that said that there's extraterrestrial situations in the Sahara. And this is why when you put a compass there, it turns around. Some say there's some type of atmospheric interference, because you have to think about this, brothers and sisters. Here you are in the Sahara Desert. You see the Mujahideen who live in these areas. Why is it that with all the technology that they have from the sky, they can never find these people? Have you noticed that? Huh? It's very interesting, isn't it? With all the technology, they said there's some magnetic field that's on the Sahara. It makes it like that to where you can't orientate. You take a compass like I did. I took a compass. I seen the needle move around many times. I was trying to figure it out. But I began to read the stars. My wife could tell you, we went out and I tried to show her, I tried to get her to read the stars. She got scared because it gets pitch black. I mean, pitch black in the Sahara. And we went to make Maghrib deeper into the Sahara, right? And I wanted to show her, I said, look, because we had a desert hotel that's similar like this, what they call Kasbah. This is a Kasbah, brothers and sisters, what they call Kasbah. And so we went way out and we made prayer. So it got real dark. And I mean, I could barely see her. I mean, it's so dark, it's pitch black, there's just no light. And so I told her, I said, look, you see the star here? We have to read the stars. This is what our ancestral brothers have done. So we read the stars, and I got her back to the Kasbah, and so forth and so on. So this is how the desert life looks. I wanted to show you that because so you can get a picture. During the time of the 10th century, these things have not changed. It's been the same way all these centuries, brothers and sisters. When the Afro-Arabs came, they saw this. This is how they drew. And they also taught when the Portuguese began to come, they also began to draw pictures and stuff and talk about the life in the Kasbah, how it is. Inside here, you have running water. It's ingenious how what we have done to do things. You see date palms, talking about dates. You see date palms, they grow, and you have oasis and so forth, and in many parts of the Sahara. And it's a beautiful scenery because you have brown and you have this green shrubbery, but then you have the dunes where there's nothing out there. Because look, you see the city, then you look over to your horizon there, there's nothing out there but straight Sahara. And believe it or not, in some parts of Sahara, there's baboons. That's why, brothers and sisters, I'm telling you, the Sahara is deadly. If you go to a wrong area, there's areas of the Sahara where there are baboons. Can you believe that? And they will kill you because you're in their territory, and they live in like caves and hills. And before you know it, they'll be on you and you're gone because they'll kill you. So we have even baboons who have adapted out from the tropics, moved to the north, live in the desert, and they are in some parts. And I can't remember all the areas where they're designated, but that's why I told you the Sahara is beautiful, but it's deadly. You make a wrong move, you can lose your life, okay, very easily, and stuff like that. Of course, you know the snakes and stuff like that. They have that. Of course, you know the deadly snakes there in the Sahara. But the thing is the misorientation. Because of the dryness of the air, it sucks the water from you. Believe me, you can dehydrate. And this is what usually kills the people. It's because they panic. And they start to, and they perspire and they lose all this water, and they don't have water to replace it with, and you die. And some people die actually of fright. Can you believe that? They go out in the desert and they get misorientated. The devil begins to talk to them, and they just give up, and their body systems just stop. So they die of fright. We have all of this that happens in the Sahara, brothers and sisters. So I'm hoping I gave you some lessons about that and whatnot, because of the desert life, especially in the northern part, like Al Maghrib. That's Al Maghrib, where I live. This is further south from my house, where I'm living here in Fez. But we have even the Kasbahs not too far away from us, from where I'm living now, and there's something to behold. Those Kasbahs, you'd be surprised what's inside. You look at it and say, oh man, they look like poor people. Let me tell you something. It's ingenious how they were built. They keep you very cool, even when it's very, very hot. Okay, when it's very, very hot, and they keep you cool. And they have irrigation systems in there and whatnot. And you walk down the streets. The streets are narrow, so that way it keeps you cooler in the summer months, but warmer in the winter months. See, because it gets decidedly cold. You'd be surprised how cold it gets in the Sahara, because there's no areas to keep the heat in, right? So that's why there's no heat. Like even in Fez, it gets very cold here, and you'd be surprised because the heat index drops away because there's nothing in the atmosphere to keep the heat in, so it evaporates. So it gets cold, very, very cold here. Very interesting when you start to go to the desert life. That's why I was so intrigued about it. I used to have dreams about the Sahara and whatnot. Now I understand why, because my heritage, when I got my DNA and whatnot, my mom's heritage, the Fulani and so forth and so on, then I got the Amazigh, which is Sanhaja people who we've been talking about. So now I understand why I love the Sahara, because that's, you know, I got my heritage, and the Sahara, that's where Sanhaja people originated out from, see, from the Sahara. And so this is why I love it so much. And I don't get to go there as much as I want, but it's a very beautiful place, but deadly, brothers and sisters. I'm telling you, it's very deadly and whatnot like that. And I'm glad I had learned some things, because I picked up the stars, and you know, I told my wife when we was walking out there, I told her, I said, look, you see there's a star right there. I said, you line yourself up, and you go to the star, and you start walking towards it, you'll find the Kasbah. And I proved that to her, because she was frightened, because we out there, it was so dark. You know what I mean, brother, sister? I mean, I told her, so look, you hang on to me in the back. You grab me, you know, you hold on to me, because I didn't want her to fall off, because you won't be able to see her. And people die of fright, because I saw how my wife, she was frightened to death. She said, come on, you know, and so forth. So I said, look, I'm going to get you. We'll go back to no problem. And I followed the star. And when I got over there, she learned her lesson. I said, you want to go? She said, no, I don't want to go back there no more. So we didn't go. I'm sorry to laugh about it. It's kind of funny, because there's exchange of words. She said to me in Arabic, it's funny, but she was frightened, okay, about that. And this is what I was talking about, brothers and sisters, about the Sahara, because it's very, very frightening. And the Kasbah is similar to this here, like what you see here, but it's much smaller. But you know, we were way out in the desert, and like I said, it's pitch black, and there was the stars there. And matter of fact, brothers and sisters, I will close. The stars seem to be so close, because they're the atmosphere, right? The stars are so close. You can see the stars, thousands and thousands of stars, so beautiful, brothers and sisters, in the Sahara. When you look up, you see these clouds. It's just like you can almost reach for them. It is absolutely gorgeous. And when you look at the moon even as though you're, you know, inches from it. I mean, you can see caves and stuff in the moon. It's the Sahara is something. That's why Subhanahu wa Ta'ala talks about the Sahara. It has this look about it, especially in Africa, which Subhanahu wa Ta'ala calls the Queen of Jannah, meaning Queen of Heaven. This is what he calls Africa, because he made it first. See, Africa was developed first, and he put us on this continent first. And so he made it to be beautiful for us to understand it, and to marvel about it, but to know his power, to worship him, not to worship his creations, but to worship him. And when you get out there to the Sahara and you begin to do things, you start to marvel at what Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has done for us. And the beauty that he's given us, and the eyesight he's given us, so we can see. And then you get out there in this desert in particular, and you see the wonders of the earth. And the Sahara is a wonder. Believe me, brothers and sisters, especially when you hit the oasis like this, and you see dates. Can you believe this? And you try to ask a question, how can the dates grow here when the temperatures get this hot? But there's underground water wells that feed these things that you may not see. And you walk out, all of a sudden you see date palms, and they have dates. That's what's funny about it. They actually have dates on these trees when the dates ripen. So this is why our ancestors traveled. They knew where the oasis, they knew where the food was. So they take the fresh dates. Nobody is manning them, and you eat the dates. And you drink the waters also that you can develop. And they got cactus, you can take water from the cactus. There's a lot of things that I learned about the desert, and it's a interesting life. And I'm hoping, brothers and sisters, I didn't bore you with that. But the brother asked me something, or how you doing, my dear brother, Marcus? But I had to cover this a little bit off topic, somewhat, because we were talking about what happened with our Fulani brothers, but we got to talk about the Sahara, which I love dearly, and we got to talk about the people and the Arabs and so forth and so on, because the Afro-Arabs play a part. But in my next episode, they will even play a greater part. When I get you into Andalus, I'll tell you about that, inshallah, on my next episode. And so I'm hoping, brothers, that you got something out of this particular thing today that I talked about in Andalus, and we talked about how we got Murabitun, what happened to Murabitun, why Murabitun became decidedly black. Now you understand why. Now you have the ammunition. So when idiots who wrote me the other day, when they come after you with something like this, when they start talking crazy, and now you'll be able to fight them back, because you can pull up a map and you can sit there and say, look, this is where the Sanhaja people and the Federation who became Murabitun, they went to the Tukror area. That's our brothers, the HappaPulaar, the Mendinka, the Sinike people and so forth and whatnot there. And also there we have Wolof people as there is also as well. So that's how they became decidedly black. When they entered into Al Maghrib, they were decidedly black. They took other black people there, the Amazigh people there. But now, as you go further north into Al Maghrib, as you know, the people become a little bit lighter skinned, even though they're black. They may be like, like me in my complexion, which we have a lot of that. But in the 10th century, you had a lot of Moroccans like me, okay, my complexion. And by the 18th century, it got lighter because the Romans, not the Romans, but the Europeans began to come into Al Maghrib as Muslims, and they get to intermarry with people like me, right? My clans, and they start to become decidedly lighter skin. That's why you notice Al Maghrib today, you take from areas from the central part, Fez and whatnot. But when you start to go to the north, the people are decidedly fair-skinned. You'd be surprised. Very, very fair complected, many. But you'll see them with curly hair, black hair, and with afros, the curly hair, afros. You have that, and you see some of the sisters, when you do see their hair, some who don't wear, their hair is decidedly thick and very frizzy. That's the African heritage. Even though they are white-skinned, they have African heritage. And there's one clue, but I don't want to get into it because it's sexually charged. And I talked about this already, but there's a clear indication that they have African heritage, but I won't touch that because it's not a topic for that today. But when you get to the central, to the south, the people become darker. That's right. See, they become darker and darker. That's why I have Fulani brothers telling me, he said, man, look, I saw many people look like Fulani. I don't understand why they spoke Amazigh and why they don't identify of being Wolof or Mendinka or Fulani, because of the history I told you about, because they have mothers who were Amazigh, right? So even though they're black, their mother was Amazigh. The child follows the mother. The mother speaks Amazigh, you're going to speak Amazigh. So they didn't speak Pular anymore, see? So they spoke Amazigh, but you see people to the south, they're black. Many people down in the south will tell you straight out, yes, I'm Fulani, I have Fulani heritage, or I may have Mendinka heritage, they say, but I'm Amazigh, because they speak Amazigh and Arabic, see? So this is how that saga goes about Al Maghrib today, and I'm hoping that it gives you some education. There's a few more of these, and then we have to go. I'm looking forward to seeing the lesson because it's not being discussed. No, you're not going to get this, and you're right, my dear brother. You're not going to get something like this. A lot of people stay away from this, and because they don't have the, they're PhDs, but they never have understand the clan loyalties. This is the problem, because Africa works. You take the names like I told today. Okay, the famous people who started Murabitun, you see their last name, Al Lamtuna, Al Jadella, Al Sanhaji. See, these are names of the clans that they belong to, because they use it as part of their names. See, so they don't get into that. They only talk to you and tell you they did here, so you get confused and you try to figure out, and then you say, well, they said there's black. How did they get black? They don't tell you that because they don't understand it, and they'll just give you some kind of notion. They'll say, yeah, black people entered there. You ask, who were the black people and where did they come from and how many were there? Were they all black or some black? See, many of them don't answer that. But I get into this and I get deeper into research because I live here also. So that makes it easier. And and also have a degree in African history that helps me as well. So that's how I can get to discuss these ethnic loyalties. And plus, a lot of the documents written, brothers and sisters, as you heard me talk about, if you're Muslims, is in Arabic. In Arabic. Some of the most extensive research has been done, has been given by Afro-Arabs, and they speak Arabic. So their documents in Arabic. That's why the English research is not as in depth, because they don't have the language capabilities, and they don't translate the documents well when the Afro-Arabs wrote, like about my people. When they talk about the Fulani people and the Mujahideen and whatnot, they call them the veiled ones and stuff like this. They didn't translate this very well. That's why this guy who was talking to me and wrote to me, he said some things. He said it was wrong because he didn't have all the research done, and he said I was wrong because he said the Sanhaja people today are white. Yes, many of them are white, but how you explain my heritage? My grandmother, great-great-grandmother was never white. How you explain what the Portuguese wrote and showed Abu Bakr as black? As you saw my picture I gave last week, they showed Abu Bakr, the depiction that was given by the English and the Portuguese shows Abu Bakr Omar, one of the founders of Mauritania, as much darker than me, coal black in color. See, so they don't get into that. That's why we have that problem. And yeah, love to hear more about Black Muslim history. So interesting. Yes, Jazakum. Yes, my dear brother. The history in Africa period is very. We have an illustrious history. It's just that no one's teaching it. We don't have enough Africans to get deep into. We have Africans, but they're suppressed, and you have to go find their research. You have to really do some good research to find some of the brilliant scholars that we have. We have Fulani scholars too. We have Mandinka scholars. We have Mende also, and they wrote history documents. Where are they at? Very difficult to find them, huh? See, you see what I mean? That's by design. That's by design, brothers and sisters. The racist ones, you find their literature all the time. The ones who show the Mujahideen as white, there's all over the place. You can get their documents telling you that the Mujahideen came in, and as you heard me talk earlier today in my speech, I said they talked about a mythical Tubab clan in the Sahara. That's you see what I mean? Because we don't have history, they can write this type of nonsense. And I wrote to these people and I asked them, I said, which clan are they from in Bilad Sudan? I've been waiting 2 days now. I asked, what clan are you talking about that's in Bilad Sudan that is Tubab? I haven't got a response back. See, because we know there's no clans of white folk ever been in Bilad Sudan. Why do they call it land of blacks? They didn't call it land of Tubab. It's this land of what? The land of the black people, right? So, and this is why Africans should start to write their own history. And so that's why when you hear me talk, I give you a different perspective on it, because I'm not going to follow what they say. Because I'm African. I'm Fulani. So therefore, I'm going to give you perspective because I'm African. I'm going to give you perspective of our brothers, because it's my honor to talk about our brothers. It's my honor. It's my honor, brothers and sisters, to talk about our ancestors. It's my honor. I consider it a great honor to talk about them. It's a privilege that I have the right and I have the knowledge superhero that gave me so I can talk and educate us about our ancestors, how they operated, what they looked like, what they said, what did they do, what empires did I have, where did they do this? Who were they Muslims? When they were Muslims, how many sultanates did they have? Who had the sultanates? Did they have Mende sultanates? Yes. Did they have Mandinka sultanates? Yes. Did they have Hausa? We talk about all of that. Africans need to write their own history so that way we can get the history down right and down pat, and that way we can prosper. Because I contend today, brothers and sisters, if our African leaders go back to the past and begin to pull those documents up and see how our ancient brothers ran their sultanates and emirates and so forth, it would cure a lot of problems. Instead of following the Tubab, which they follow his governance, They don't look to our ancestors, and see how they governed and why they became so rich. You look at the Ghana Empire. The Ghana Empire was wealthy, even though it wasn't Muslim, but they had a large Muslim population. Look how wealthy it was. See, look how wealthy it was. Look at the Mansa Musa. Remember him? Okay. Look at Askia Muhammad. All these, they were so wealthy. Our leaders today should go back to see how they governed, because when you put Subhanahu wa Ta'ala first in your life, in your governance, he has rewarded us. I think 50 to 60% of all of the world's richest nations in the history of the earth, over half were what? African and Muslim. That's right, brothers and sisters. How did that be? Huh? Even though we had the mineral wealth, what did our brothers do to maintain that wealth and spread it among the people? Do we have that today? No. We have wealth, but only 0.1% takes all the wealth, and we at the bottom don't get anything. See, that's why it's very difficult. And yes, our brothers do, they handled it, yes, and they had business differently. Yes, they did. They sure did. How you doing, my dear brother? Saint Maurice, real name is Kwame. He was in command. He conquered Greece. Yes, I read about that history. You're right. And they called him Saint Maurice. And I used to always try to figure out until I read some documents, and his name was Kwame. You're right. Thank you, my dear brother, for enlightening us on that. Yes, and you know what? They're not going to. If I remember right about him too, I saw something in Google one time talking about this, and that's why they call Saint Maurice. They had him down as a Tubab. And I start to laugh, but nobody caught it, because I saw the comments. Nobody caught it, because they deliberately had it named his name as Saint Maurice, so that way they can change his color to make it like the conqueror was a Tubab, when in fact he was a black man. Yes, it's very interesting again how clever our enemy operates. And his real name is Kwame. It's right. I had read that and whatnot. But they call him Saint Maurice, so that way they can show him in Google as a Tubab. Very interesting. Very interesting. So there's if nothing else there, I guess I will get here and close and everything. I've been here long and but it's my pleasure, my dear brothers and sisters, to talk to you. Anybody who has not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel, brothers and sisters. I greatly appreciate it. I immensely appreciate that. Those who have subscribed to me, pass my videos on to those who are willing to want to learn, and please subscribe, because that is what we should be doing as Black people. We should be supporting our brothers' play. Okay, I'm not saying that you have to agree with everything I'm saying. I'm not asking you that, but you should support me in a sense. Just like when the brothers come to me and say, "Hey, look, I got a platform here," I go to support them. That's what we should do, because nobody else supports us, right? So I try to support our brothers. So you should try to support me. You may disagree with me. You may like some things I said. We're because we're human beings. We all have likes and dislikes, but we should try to support one another. That's what we should do. So when you see a brother who's got a good platform, support him. It doesn't take nothing to subscribe. It doesn't take 50 minutes. It takes 1 second. Not even that. Click and you subscribe to him. How many videos you watch is your business, but at least you support him. So this is what I'm asking from you, for my brothers and sisters. You guys give me your support and pass it on to other brothers, and subscribe to my station, because we should have our network down. Here we're talking about Andalus. You can see today Andalus, some of the best programs in Arabic. But how you going to know that when you don't speak Arabic? I speak it. I can translate that, so I know what they're talking about. But most of us don't speak Arabic language, see? And then we have a lot of other racist historians put their 2 cents in about Andalus as well, and about Africa and whatnot like this. And so, a lot of times you're not going to get the right answer. And that's why I like questions asked, because I want people to understand about Africa. We should understand Africa, about what happened. And when they whitewash us, we should fight them about that. And we should take them on, and we take them on not by yelling and screaming and cursing, but we take them on by giving them knowledge and education and say, this is a true story. Like I did this idiot the other day who talked to me and wrote me 2 letters and talking against me. He said I was racist, and he said I was Afrocentric, and I'm trying to give the history because that's what they do. I asked him a question. I said, why don't you go after these historians who make the Amazigh to be literally white, when in fact it's not true? He didn't answer that. But he wants to go after me because I want to show the Mujahideen as they are. See, they were black, and that's right. So, and whatnot. That's why I said the education is important. So support me, brothers and sisters, and get others to support me as well. Those who's willing, who want to understand their history and whatnot, because I'm gonna give you perspective that you may not be able to get elsewhere. As you know, I'm gonna give you the truth, and I'll give it to you even if it's against myself. So my brothers and sisters, I will conclude here until the next time. In a couple of days, I'll give you the next episode of Andalus. Now we will enter into Andalus, and that is a mess. What happened there is tragic, brothers and sisters, and I will cover that, inshallah, and I'll explain to you, and I'll explain how we cleaned it up, how we cleaned that up. So till the next time, Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.